Um, Something that may be making it a little more difficult to talk about property is the fact that we tend not to distinguish between different kinds of property. Um, I think that we need to identify at least two kinds of property in order to be able to discuss it. The first kind of property is property which is fundamentally some sort of natural resource, be it real estate, or be it fossil fuel in the ground, or some sort of mine or well, or what have you. There's the natural resource which has been privatized, and I believe that has been harmful in many ways. There's another kind of property, and that is when you mix natural resources with your labor, then you produce something of value. And I do believe that people do have a right to the fruits of their labor. So that kind of property, I definitely think that people have a right to that as much as they have a right to anything. But I think the ownership of natural resources, I don't think that's a right. I think that's a privilege. So I think we need to distinguish between different kinds of property, okay, that to lump it all together and say property is a basic right, I think is incorrect, because we're not distinguishing between different kinds of property. The other thing I wanted to say was that I think property is useful in many ways. I think property in small amounts with large numbers is very, very useful. For example, having a place to build a house and owning that outright, I think that's very useful because it provides some incentive for the improvement, and it not only that, it makes the person responsible for the maintenance and the upkeeping. I think that's one of the things that capitalism has going for it, is that people bear the consequences of their own decisions in trying to maintain and upkeep their property. So I guess what I want to say is that property, when it's in small amounts, I think is very useful. But property, natural resources, when they're owned in very large amounts by a small number of individuals, I think that just leads to economic abuse. I think it's very easy for someone who owns a lot of land, for example, to exploit that, to rob people of the fruits of their labor, because you give people precious little alternative. If you own all the real estate, if you own all the farmland, and people want to be able to eat, they need to work for you, okay? So it does establish a relationship which I think is very privileged, and it's a way of robbing people, of giving them a very inferior negotiation position for being able to receive the fruits of their own labor. So I think large-scale ownership of natural resources is very problematic. So anyways, I'll look forward to talking about it some more. Thanks. Bye.